have it. I just sent you, Garrett, from Max Olson on Nebraska's new AD Troy Dannen. Look at this quote from Dannen. Introduced, he goes, understatement of the day. If you think the last 5 years of college athletics have been wild, the next 5 years will put it to shame.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's.
I can't imagine. I'm sure there's a lot of things that can happen, but I can't imagine anything will top what we've seen with Oklahoma, Texas, SEC, the following year with USC, UCLA, and then a breakup of a Pac-12 conference that's been in existence for decades in what's happened there. Stanford and Cal in the ACC, SMU. I don't know if it could do that, but I guess you probably can because it's all about the money. So where's the money going to take college athletics the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, there's also all the TV deals that took place, NIL, that being
Transfer
established
portal.
and all that. So, yeah, I don't know if that it can really be maybe as volume-packed stories-wise as the last few years have been, but I can see where it's as crazy. I mean, you're about to start paying players like employees. So there's a big difference that's never happened before in college athletics. And you're also looking at some sort of finality having to come to the ACC. And they have two teams who have made it pretty well known they don't want to be in the league anymore. And something's going to have to give there, a settlement or some other route going through the actual legal system, which I don't know that anybody really wants to put in all the time and the effort and the finances that you would have to do to see that from start to finish. So that's a big hanging piece right now is Florida State, Clemson, and then the after effects of that. But between the possibilities, if the SEC and the Big Ten were to go off and do their own thing, I think that would be pretty monumental. I don't know how good for the game that would be overall, but that would certainly be a big landscape shift as well. What's interesting, though, is Nebraska seems to their AD seemed to have the insight, because I remember Trev Alberts used to always be the one that was talking about realignment. Like, he was the only guy I saw that was consistently talking about it and dropping these little clues all over the place about what was still to come and everything. So maybe that just comes with that role in Lincoln. I don't know, but
it's the college that runs America.
I guess so. But yeah, he's first day on the job getting introduced, and he's already talking about realignment. So there's something there in Lincoln, but I mean, I can believe it to some extent. I don't know if it can be like as wide-ranging as all the things that we just mentioned the last few years, but it could be pretty significant. I mean, when you talk about just the things that I mentioned and maybe things that I'm even leaving out that we haven't even thought about yet. The expanded playoffs a part of that the next few years, and that doesn't even seem like it's got a cap on it just yet because we haven't even seen 12 and we're already shooting towards 14. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past college sports to outdo itself, but, man, they've got a big old challenge based on what we've seen the last several seasons.
I'll stop for a second, and this was not a part of our rundown, but we need to look at this, and there's some other stories also to get to, but COVID, transfer portal, NIL, UTOU, USC, UCLA, the Pac-12 falls apart. Expansion of the playoff, Dartmouth and unionization of student athletes.
Big 12 adds BYU,
the Big
Houston.
12 adds what are now 8 schools to what it was. It's
SMU's
what it was 10.
Power 5.
SMU's in the ACC, Cal Stanford on the East Coast, and so if it tops that since the spring of 2020 with COVID. I always wondered about how everything kind of merged together at once and how much of a mess it would be because it seemed like it all happened, and a lot of it was without any rules. And so here we are. Okay.
Well,
by the way,
here's the thing: is recruiting right now. I mean, to his point, recruiting's as wild as it's ever going to be right now. Mm-hmm. There's no rules.
Yeah.
There's no rules as far as enticements or NIL or any of that. There's nothing. It's as free and wide open as it's ever been right now and moving forward. So I could definitely see that. I know that there's already been, I think it was I saw Josh Pate or somebody had a video about just wait till you, there's always a lot of these I heard, but I can't tell you, but just wait. And it was one of those about I think the transfer portal and how that's going to look this spring, so now that you take away what rules were actually in place, which weren't doing a whole lot of good to begin with, and you strip those away, I could see where recruiting is going to get more wild than ever, which is hard to imagine, but probably going to be the case because you've you've taken out the roadblocks for a lot of people that otherwise would maybe deter them from just going full bore. All right, pay for play and let's go. So I can see where that gets about as wild as it's maybe ever been here in the very near future.
By the way, John Wilner saying that Washington hiring Pat Chun is such an obvious move that I'm kind of surprised it actually happened. And then there was a couple of what took so long has been just a handful of days. And Bob Thompson should have hired Chun last time they had an opening. President Koss lobs one last bomb at WSU. Washington State President Schultz on their way out the door.
Yeah, and I'd also mention, I think it was Pay Video that was talking not even so much about the recruiting, but it's recruiting related, but about the portal itself. Of there's already moves being predetermined for guys that are in spring ball right now. Mm-hmm. They're already planned out where they're going after spring ball's over with. And I know it makes for a lot of fun and just chaos and people love messiness, but my gosh, man, it's that if that turns out to be this scenario that was proposed where you can't even go through spring ball and even care about who's on the team because it really doesn't even matter. That's just
Why don't
another
they
one.
just cancel spring ball? I mean, I'm not. They can't. They won't. They can. But yeah, I get it. Because what are you doing? You're going through the motions, so your roster can be churned around in about 2 or 3 a month later.
Well, I mean, if you're having a quarterback battle and that quarterback wins the competition, then you just say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm leaving. I got an offer from Ohio State, and I'm out of here." I mean, that's feasible. That could happen.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how ugly it gets. Sometimes the warnings are a lot worse than the actual storm itself, but college football does know how to cook up a good storm. So this spring with just player movement, I think is going to be really a fun treat. And by fun, I mean, it could be awful or it could be entertaining as all hell. We'll see.
All right, Louisville basketball.